Hello everyone, Trophy Wine Hunter. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm pleased to bring you the 2017 Gruaud Larose. So Gruaud Larose is actually a very intriguing wine. It's one of the most different or most variable wines, I think, of the first growth. Much like Linge-Baz and Ausson, I think they can have really great vintages, but really quite not so good vintages. And so the variation, I don't think you see it as much in any other second growth wine. And I don't really have an explanation for it. If anyone kind of has some explanation of why that is, not sure why, but for some reason, Gruaud Larose can produce spectacular vintages like the 1966, and then they can produce kind of just decent vintages. So let's go through a little bit about Gruaud Larose. So it started way back probably in the 1700s. It was started by the Gruaud family, and originally the estate was 116 hectares, and it was named Fond Bedeau. But there was two brothers, and there's one that was a priest that bottled the wines under Chevalier de Gruaud, and then a judge that bottled under Abbe Gruaud. So I guess the two brothers started to do these wines. I think the Chevalier de Gruaud was more popular and more successful, but then he passed away in 1778 and then left the estate to his son-in-law, Joseph Sebastian de La Rose, and that's how you got Gruaud Larose. And then in 1812, the whole family had to sell the estate because of debt to three people: Pierre Balguerie, Baron Jean Auguste Sarget, and you'll notice Sarget, that is the second wine is called Sarget, so that's where it's come from, and David Verdonnet. David Verdonnet passed away shortly thereafter, and the estate was left to the two partners, and they co-managed that for almost half a century. Then right after the 1855 classification system, Gruaud Larose was divided again. Half of it went to Baron Sarget, and they sold the wine as Gruaud Larose Sarget, and the other half went to the Bethmann descendants, and it was bottled under different names: Gruaud Larose Faure and Gruaud Larose-Bethmann. So a lot of history, a lot of change in the winery, and not a lot of kind of consistency, and maybe that's one of the reasons why the wine hasn't been very consistent. The consistency started to change with the involvement of the Cordier family, and you'll see this in the 66 wine. You'll see the label says Cordier. I guess that must be one of the descendants of Cordier. But the Cordier family started to have an interest in the winery about 1917, and they actually made a lot of the money because they were contracted by the French government to provide rations of inexpensive wine to soldiers during World War I, and that's how they paid for the payment of Gruaud Larose. They eventually bought out all the other partners in 1935. And then in 1997, the estate was sold to Jacques Merlot, and he owns, of the Talon Group, and he owns Haute-Bage Libéral, Certain, Chateau Citron, Ferrier, and Chaspleen. So I guess it's good now that they've got some ownership stability. But again, in the short term, that's only been 25 years. And so with a lot of these wineries, they have stability for hundreds of years. And if you look at the first growth, I don't think there has been really a change in ownership in most of them for 150 years. So that's probably one of the reasons why Gruaud Larose has not done as well as some of the other second growth wines. The instability does hurt it, and they have an owner right now that's there, but arguably makes more not second growth quality wines. Although I really like Chateau Ferrier, I think that's a very up-and-coming winery, so that's a good winery. And I actually like Haute-Bage Libéral also as a winery, so maybe we need just a little bit more time for Gruaud Larose to grow into it. The estate is 82 hectares, comprised of 61% Cabernet Sauvignon, 29% Merlot, 7% Cabernet Franc, and 3% Petit Verdot. They want to eventually get to 70% Cabernet Sauvignon, and they have one of the largest holdings in Bordeaux of a single block of vineyards. Most vineyards or wineries in Bordeaux have like vineyards all over, spread out in the region, or actually in different regions. As my viewers and subscribers know, I'm big on the number of vats that a winery has, because I think the more vats you have, the more ability that you have to kind of vinify grapes by plots and to choose good and bad plots. No surprise here, they have 30 oak vats and they have 32 concrete vats. So that's 62 vats. That should be sufficient to really weed out the bad plots. So that is not an excuse for why they make inconsistent wines. Starting with the 2010 vintage, they average about 85% new oak barrels for their aging, and it's aged for about 18 months. And about 18,000 cases a year is produced. As many of my viewers and subscribers know, I have drank a lot of 2017 vintage. I think one of the reasons is because I started this channel during COVID, and I think when COVID hit in 2019, that's when the 2017 vintage came out. That's when I started the channel, and I was drinking the 2017 vintage quite a bit. And so I do have a fair amount of experience with the 2017 vintage. In general, I think it's a decent vintage. I don't think it's a long-term aging vintage, but quite drinkable. I think it does have a little bit of greenness in the aftertaste of wines, and a little bit of, not as heavy as some of the later vintages, but still a very nice vintage. It's not very high alcohol. If you go later on, the 18, 19, 20, 21 vintages, I think you see a lot more heaviness in terms of the alcohol content. Maybe not the 21, but for sure the 18 and 19 and 20 were much heavier in terms of the alcohol content. So let's taste the wine. I will have in the comments section the blend. And again, it's really a mystery to me. This wine has never, if you talk about second growth wines, this is almost never in the conversation as, you know, even top 3. Not sure really why. St. Julien's a great region. It's got other great wineries like Liéville-Lacasse, Liéville-Barton, but just never is in the conversation. And if you look at people that love second growth wines, not that many love Gruaud Larose. There are not many haters of it, but it's just it's not a wine that's outstanding, and it's very peculiar why. It should. You know, they've got stability now, they've got good ownership, they've got a great plot of land. It should produce great wines, and I think maybe it just needs another little push, and perhaps, I'm not looking to be rebellious, but perhaps another ownership change would be a fresh start for them. But so far, at least I haven't seen in their later vintages anything that's made me feel that they've really got across the corner or crossed another threshold. But again, I haven't drank a lot of their newer vintages. So this is going to be neat to trace the 17. So we did have it last night just with some cheese, and now I'm having it again. It was pleasant when we drank it last night. The color is great still. No real signs of big aging. So let's try it out. On the nose, it's got fairly classic Bordeaux kind of St. Julien smells. I just reviewed the 2006 Coste d'Estournel. Very similar in terms of that type of smell. I know Coste d'Estournel is from Saint Estèphe, but you get this floral components, cranberries, a little bit of black fruit, a lot of red fruit, but almost like a wild berry type smell in this, but fairly, and a little bit of acidity on it, so fairly pleasant. Even smelling it, you get that kind of pucker in your mouth. You feel the acidity on the nose. This is a real classic Bordelais wine. It's actually, I would say, medium bodied, but it's got nice dark berries, good fruit profile, good acidity. The aftertaste is quite long and quite smooth. Really succulent fruit, like you kind of burst in your mouth. There's nothing wrong with this wine. Having said that, it's not a wow wine either. It doesn't kind of just amaze you and dazzle you. It's a good wine. Very nice drinking, probably at the right price point for what it sells at, but not at the level of De Gruaud, not at the level of Lièvre Lacasse, Palmer. They would not. I know Palmer is not his second growth, but those type of wines. I don't think this competes in terms of the structure and the heaviness. It's a really light, easygoing wine, and doesn't really pack a punch. So it's really nice, smooth, delicate. But somehow is missing a little bit of that punch. I don't know how to say that, and I'm a person that doesn't really like a lot of power, but it is a little bit light on the palate. Now it's got great aromas, flavors, dark berries, even a little bit of a smoky, charcoaly finish. All good. I just find the body a little bit light on this wine, and that's generally what I see with a lot of Gruaud Larose, that they just don't have that body. I don't know what it is about their winemaking technique or their vineyard, but it never really gives you that comfort level in terms of the mid palate and the body that Lièvre Lacasse, as an example, does. Lièvre Lacasse is never short on body and kind of structure. This to me feels a little bit light, and this is fairly characteristic of many Gruaud Larose that I've drank before. So my rating of this wine is 91 points. Good wine, of course. I don't think there's a real need to wait any longer for this wine. It's very drinkable right now. Really nice Bordeaux wine. Nothing wrong with it. It's not going to wow you either, but really nice wine. I'm sure it could go another 5-8 years, but there's no reason. I think it's drinking very nicely right now, so I would drink up now. Hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, happy drinking.